We got a song.
Nice.
Your pick or mine?
Not sure.
This room is incredible. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I just love the fact that we're all in person together.
This was great energy. I really love the comments. It's a great slice of amazing entrepreneurs doing important things and really, really, really good messages. And I totally agree that it's like, we gotta get together more, which is a recurring theme there. Like, man, Canada is fragmented. It's been a joke my entire 20-year ride building Shopify that to meet other Canadian founders, you have to travel to the valley, and that is like just like benefits no one. And so I really, 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 really agree with that sentiment.
Yeah, we're here. We're post-pandemic. The institutions, companies, people are opening their doors, and the more community organizers, and there's so many of them in this room, people that started this off in the demo camp Startup North days, people that are building it now with New and 535 and so many things. This is our time to open doors and reignite Canadian tech, and we start it tonight. So
let's go.
Some of you may know this, but Tobi and I used to work together. We've actually done this a lot, just surprisingly never in public, so hopefully it still goes well. And I think, at least I'll say for myself, I love Canada, but tonight is about tough love. And what we want to talk about tonight is the state of Canadian innovation, government and policy, and the path forward. We've got some good questions to take Tobi through. We've got a QR code up on the screen so you can start cataloging yours. We're going to give as much time as possible to get to as many of those things as we can based on your upvotes. Tobi, I texted you a couple weeks ago and said, will you come talk to the community? You agreed. Why now?
You mean, why have I said no consistently for 20 years to every single one of us?
It's like because you asked. It's about me. Okay, great.
yeah, no, actually, it is totally about you. Like, hey, we're talking about startup technology and stuff like this. You're founder of a company yourself. Like a decade ago, Shopify bought your company, and like Shopify, in a very, very real sense, is attempting to be a love letter to entrepreneurship and to founders. And like we work very closely together, and I think it's a moment for all of us to like have a conversation. I think, the event that's galvanizing us here is like an excuse. I think what everyone was ready for is like, hey, just like let's connect over something and actually discuss and have a higher level and higher order conversation about what we all want Canada to be, because I think that's kind of in the air. At the moment, I think we see policy that's kind of moves dissonantly from, I think, our shared vision here for what Canada can be and what Canada actually ought to be. Then I think we should have conversations about this. So it seems like a good moment to say yes.
So, let's start there. You once upon a time chose to move to Canada and build a company. Do you think young Tobi again today would make that same decision based on everything you heard today?
Oh yeah, I would. I think so. Look, I didn't choose Canada really. Like I was just here. Then again, like so. Honestly, the story. So you asked specifically if I would know, given that I know, like yes. Would do it again. I said yes. So I like think about how lucky I am to having actually accidentally done the right thing in this way. In fact, I actually I'm not going to get into the sentimental stuff. It's just funny. Shopify actually started due to a government policy. So policy can create jobs. It's possible. In this case, the policy was that if you were here on a work visa, you were not allowed to work. On a visitor visa, you were not allowed to work, which I only found out after I got a job. And then I went to a lawyer to ask how I can actually get a work permit, and he said you can't. And then I had to go through a whole common law thing with my now wonderful wife. And I asked her, what am I going to do during this time? He said, well, you could start a company. So that's an inspired policy right there, I think. The law of unintended consequences often, sometimes arcs towards the enlightened. So.
I think a lot of the things that we're kind of galvanizing together about today is the unintended consequences that we see from the environment around us today. And, I feel like once upon a time when I graduated 2008, 2009, I felt like things were good. BlackBerry stock price, all-time highs, Drake's releasing So Far Gone. Things are going to be wonderful. But there were no tech jobs. And so I was fortunate to have the circumstances where I chose the path of entrepreneurship. And that led me to today. And what we're trying to figure out is how do we get more young people to make that same leap of faith, to take that same path? What do you think is missing in our environment for that to be true? What are the factors?
Yeah, I mean, this is a long discussion. I think, look, like a highly competitive, world-beating, world-class product creating, exporting startup culture is built one step at a time. It's the end result of compounding, many compounding cycles of people encouraging each other, paying it forward, being of advice, again, getting together. But also creating a system inside of a company where this kind of thing, country where this is celebrated, right? Like, my sense is, right this moment, there's very few pockets inside of Canada where when you go to an event, everyone asks, hey, what do you do? That's actually in Canada, this is seen as a fairly offensive question. It's like a judgmental question, which I sort of get, but it's load-bearing for a culture of people who build things. It is the thing that is, like, it's the question, like, I literally asked you how it's like because you left Shopify, what it's like, and it's like, well, weird thing is I have to fill out on the forms now that I'm self-employed, which is, well, good. You fill this out, like, it's because I want you to be inspired to build an amazing thing. You have an amazing brain. Everyone here has an amazing brain, and we have so much more to give. And the amount of value out there, the amount of product, the amount of things that could be created is enormous. We are so not close to having saturated anything. And so I think you want an environment where everyone just kind of holds each other accountable for building things. Building is the thing, like, that pulls value out of nothingness. It's like value that's there, like that value that's accessible, that maybe only you see, and just like turn it into a product that people love and develop it. It's like where you get to spend, like, instead of working 8 hours for someone, you get to spend 12 hours every single day filling something up with giving a shit and making something that other people actually honor and love and excited about. And it's the most wonderful form of self-expression. And entrepreneurship is so pure, it's so creative, it's so powerful, and it's completely load-bearing to the economies that exist, to the standard of living that exists. And it's not the story, and this is frustrating. And it's frustrating to read the sort of cynical narrative about it, as if it's like just sort of like, well, I'm literally being called tech bro or on the front page of newspapers. I'm like, well, I mean, fair, but like I know you're using this as an insult, and it's just like, cool, but like, how about builder? How about entrepreneur? How about founder? Like, how about like just like I'm trying to do a thing, and I got really lucky, and like compounding returns are the most powerful force in the universe, and like Shopify is now really big, making things that people hopefully love, and hopefully generate very few of those terrible recruiting experiences that we just learned about, and trying to trying its best. So that I love all of that. So I know all of this. This is my story. Would I do it in Canada? Absolutely. It's a fantastic place. In fact, Shopify itself is kind of proof point. It's like I didn't like create anything from magical thinking. Like I hired people who were locally. I was discerning. I made good choices on the people I brought on. I went into an industry, created a product that I wanted. I made the pivots at the right time. Like I contributed to it. But like Shopify is now a tens of billions, whatever company that got built in Canada. With like by Germans in Canada for Americans, if you will. So, perfect.
Beautiful. So, everything you're getting at here is like, sure, there are structural challenges, but the deep-rooted issue is an internal one. It's a cultural one.
I think, look, it's we don't like to rock the boat. We don't like to hold each other accountable. Like everyone's like, I mean, people are done with the companies. They just sort of retire, and then They don't have a friend who says, well, but what that brain of yours, what are you building that's to benefit of society right now? I mean, I don't think any friends talk like this, but like, but you know what I mean. So that, and you know, all the things we have in Canada is like, I mean, incredible, you know, just like incredible education, incredible, you know, loyalty, incredible insight, incredible sort of crossroads of cultures, and the multiculturalism that has been part of Canada's history for so long, that like gives you the insights to make products for the world that should do fantastically well. We have incredible tech talent. We in fact invent the stuff that Silicon Valley gets excited about afterwards. And so the things that we're missing is two things. I think ambition is a problem. Like, I've said this before, I've said many times, like Tony Laclavera has said it long before me. Canada is a go for bronze culture. And that sucks. No one wants bronze. Bronze is the thing you got because you didn't get the gold. Like, you got to go for gold. In fact, why would you ever start a company doing anything that isn't in some frame of reference with some provisos the best product in the world? Like, clearly you want to dedicate your career to building the best thing you possibly can, create the best product in the world for the thing that you care most about, or die trying with a company and then try it again. Like, it's just, this seems axiomatically clear. And then the last thing that's missing, and this is actually even more important, I think, courage. Courage is required to engage in entrepreneurship. It's you putting yourself out there. It's very public failure. It's very public everything. And so thank you for making this Chatham House rules, and nothing of what I'm going to say today will be public afterwards. So that's fair. Thank you very much.
The cameras.
No, the cameras are just props. Yeah. So anyway, I think Canada needs to have a conversation about courage, and Canada has to have a conversation about ambition. Ambition, we are 2 clicks away from perfect. Courage, we just need to value more.
I think that comes also from a culture from a societal standpoint that encourages, rewards, and celebrates entrepreneurship, which is inclusive of its failures, right? Failing as an entrepreneur is a medal. It's not a participation trophy. It is it's better than bronze in some ways because it means you went for gold and then you're going to go for gold again. And I think we take it as almost a negative feedback loop of failure or failed start or failed product market. Any of these things means go back, find a job, move, and we need those are our best. Your odds just went up.
It's true, and like again, I think this is also a little bit reflected. You can see this in this sort of lack of commercialization. It's like I really like that Cohere like takes this direct and says, okay, are we actually selling AI, and we are working with people because this is the other side. I think very often Canada is excellent at creating things, but then is not wanting to rock the boat and not selling it. This is the point where courage really is the thing that's at a premium. But yeah.
See, I used to think it was a disadvantage being a non-technical founder, but the amount of time sales and business is coming up, I think it's my time.
You had some, there's a very vague memory that you had something in your background that made this easier for you, right? Like, because we talked about this early.
We had a little UX thing going on. Yeah.
No, but didn't you do some improv? Anyway, like I did actually. I think
built PCs in my parents' basement.
I did a weird thing. I don't know why I'm bringing this up because this is sort of silly. But like I found this somewhere on the internet. It was called a thing called rejection therapy. Have you ever heard of this?
Absolutely. Like, it's all over TikTok right now.
Actually?
Yeah. Somebody's got to put yes.
Whoa. Okay. Yeah. Cool. So that's making a comeback.
TikTok, my algorithm tells me about rejection.
Anyway, it's like you.
So now you know something about me you didn't know when you started.
Okay. Maybe your algorithm is trying to tell you something literally. So anyway, like I don't think you need this. Like it just was like printing out like notes, like a challenge every day that you had to do something that clearly the other person would say no to, and just like get it out of your system was useful. Yeah.
Something that has been coming up on the Twitters or X a lot nowadays is CANAC. Canadian flag / ACC, not the Air Canada Centre. What does that mean to you?
I think it's just I know, I believe in the power of naming things. Like labeling a thing means everyone can reason about it. And obviously it's free and open source after this point. And I think the ACK movement there's plenty of ACKs which are rather unpleasant. Like it's just, but like, like they're out there. And I think it matters when you want to say, hey, there is a thing that I believe the world needs more of, and I think the world just needs more Canada. Like, and so I think it's a wonderful rallying cry. It doesn't mean anything other than what we imbue it with meaning with, right? Like it's basically an empty vessel. But somehow the nice that everyone who looks at it and like sort of tilts their head and thinks a moment is like, yeah, let's go. And so it's useful as a signpost for like collecting people who are just saying, man, like this place can just this place is awesome. Let's get more. Let's get it accelerated and make it more important.
You said the world needs more Canada, and I think we, a lot of us that have been building here over the decades, see that like we have this pole position to be a utopia of technological progress, cultural progress, societal progress across all dimensions of the stuff that we've talked about. We have the culture, we have the people, we have the resources, we have the open borders, we have the ability. So it's the courage, it's the right to say that we're going to win and take that. And I think what we hopefully need, whether it is a cultural solution or a structural one, is we need systems that convert that into value over and over again. And I think that's really some of the challenges people are seeing about our government's recent position, which is in the minds of many folks here, we're failing to set innovation policies or design systems that are reflective of the current economic state. We know we can't just short-term spend our way out of any given problem. We know expanding and elevating our economy is, the most proven solution over history to increase prosperity. We are all in this room because we believe in the future promise of Canada. And so how do we get people to take that seriously?
Our government loves to solve problems with programs. And I mean, like, again, this sort of gets into a conflict of visions there, but like, I just have seen problems being solved with markets because markets test ideas for merit. I think, look, everyone is allowed to be an intelligent actor in their local incentive system. I think when you talk about the capital gains, again, it's not about the capital gains. It's just the capital gains is the most obvious sign that there's a discrepancy of what the government says it wants and what it actually demonstrates it wants. Because again, we wanted everyone to stop smoking, so we passed a lot of taxes on smoking, right? Like just on cigarettes, I guess. So when people consume less of it, again, markets forces take over, there's going to be less. Not the only thing that happened, but like largely that's what happened. So if you tax innovation, like, and treat it like cigarettes, you're going to like have the same thing happen. And I think that's just like, I think the opposite of what we all want to see. And I think that's important. This goes into like things like AI regulation as well. I just don't, like so much innovation happen. Like the government can play an important role to inspire everyone. The government can play a really important role to galvanize everyone and looking into a certain direction. The government could play an enormous role in encouraging all the innovation that happens in Canada already to actually commercialize it. And the government can help enormously bolstering the companies that are successfully exporting, which again, every company that exports successfully is merit tested in a global market. This is sort of my belief system. I think that is a great way of solving challenges. I mean, I hope for the best with like something like the 2.4 billion for AI. I know Jensen. He's delighted. It's
like a purchase order.
Yeah, it's like it's great.
Procurement.
Yeah. We probably need some GPUs up here, frankly. So cool. Maybe this is the right direction. I'm kind of afraid of like all the provisos that go into it, and I wonder how many how much more distortion towards public sector employment there will be, just kind of building up the apparatus that then will administrate this this fund. This would sort of a question I would ask. But I think what you actually want is like you want real innovation commercialized. We have great companies that are attempting this, and we could encourage more to do it. And I'd love for a little bit more of that kind of energy.
Do you have an opinion on what you think a different or future direction for innovation policy should look like? What things should be prioritized?
Yeah, I mean, if you are unbelievably bored, you can read like a many pages document that the government asked me to chair the economic tables a while ago for innovations, because it was literally, how can we get more Shopify? So, you know, we worked on this document, and it exists, and it's on a government website, and it lays out a lot of things which I think we did all of the opposite of. You know, it can go into details, but like it is true that I don't think innovation comes truly from government policy. I think government policy can dampen it, but it's hard to see it bolstering. I think governments are good at pushing from behind. Once the market tests something of merit, I think that's a good role. Like again, if you study the history of how countries have come to great prosperity, especially in the last 100 years, you look to the Asian tigers, for instance, and you see the same story. It's like it was governments that subsidized, yes, but like only the companies that exported, like you know, South Korea is a great example, and so on. I know this is like boring economic theory, but I'm just sort of offering this as like, hey, that's a shovel-ready policy that we could engage, which we just don't. Who would not get money when if we would enact that industrial policy? If you look around Toronto at near the top of the buildings, a whole lot of people would probably not receive a lot of subsidy. There's a lot of Canadian businesses and industries that simply do not succeed exporting. Why? Well, I don't know. But like they should answer that question, I suppose.
So there's a document on a website with a Tobi rubber stamp on it that has the answer. So first person to tweet that document gets a gold prize. But I think it's like capturing some of what you're saying. There's like, we need to set the tone from the top that innovation matters, and that there's a commitment and understanding that that's a strong path out of some of our shared challenges, which are very real challenges in the Canadian market. There's also some responsibility to lead by example as a government, whether it's procurement or solving inefficiency in spending in the ways we run programs or many parts of the institution. And then there's kind of an ask, you're saying like, take some policy risks. It's like, take some bets and understand that a mindset that says these policies are not fixed and forever, but uncertainty or slowness is killing a lot of ideas faster. If we don't know what AI regulation is, if we don't have open banking how many years later, if we don't have you know, so many of these things, that detracts from people's ability and confidence to get to work. And so getting out of the way, setting the tone that says we're here to build and we're here in support of that development is almost all more important than any given incentive or tax structure.
You said it better than I would.
So, you know, capital gains. Do you see an alternative? Do you have a perspective? Do you see things down, you know, is the US a model, or is that kind of, is there a better lens for saying how, you know, we should think about incenting entrepreneurship? People quoted a lot about what QSBS in the States looks like compared to some of our initiatives here. There's obviously lots of experts in this room that could talk about why Shred needs shredding. Like, they're, you know, do you have a perspective on any of this?
I mean, yes, but like I think it's all boring. I think the relativism of like hey, let's look at what America does is like cool, like maybe, but like let's learn from everyone, figure out what's good, and from first principles, let's enact like something that like works awesomely for Canada here, like, because otherwise, if you always end up like arguing every point from by analogy or based on precedent, you're bounded by what everyone else has figured out, which is literally what I want Canada to stop doing. right? Like I want Canada to be first principles country about how to be from first principles the best Canada it possibly can, because I like we keep comparing ourselves to the United States, and frankly, that is a tough place to do, like thing to do. America is a hegemon on planet Earth, and it's like has a unbelievably formidable industrial base. That is just like if you compare yourself to that, I mean, derive from it the ambition to build something of that type, but like. It's also like a country that made extreme decisions to cause this industrial machine to exist. I don't think we should make all the same choices. I think we want to be distinct. So just having a healthcare that people with a very particular vantage point can describe as being superior to what happens in the United States in certain circumstances. Surely this is true. Doesn't mean we have a great healthcare system. That just means we have one which can be described as, in some cases, being slightly better than, for some people. Let's go for best. This whole multi-level system that people run into sucks. It just works for no one. Not definitely for the doctors. By the way, doctors also pay capital gains tax, right? We're already losing great doctors and so on. It's just let's not create a system where the correct choice is to either settle for something that is slightly better than the United States from our vantage point, or where everyone who goes for gold leaves, and I think that's just step number one.
Yeah, comparison to the U.S. is setting us up for bronze.
Or Europe, or anything else. Let's be Canada. We're not I'm kind of. It should be its own distinct thing. It is, and it is. By the way, everyone else in the world believes this. People want to go to Canada. It's Canada has an amazing reputation. In the world, no one believes in Germany that Canada is some kind of I don't know, weird Platonian shadow cave form of the United States. But in Canada, everyone believes this seemingly. And it's just why? No, it's not. It's great.
We're already physically on top, so
yeah.
Own it. On the maps, as they say. So I want to get to the questions that I hope people have been kind of adding a few kind of quick ones here. You're feeling optimistic?
Yes.
Awesome.
I'm not pessimistic about the next couple steps, but optimistic massively in terms of the arc of progress.
What do you think is our responsibility to the next generation of builders in this country?
We pay it forward, inspire, and create a system where the axiomatically or the absolutely first principle correct choice is built in Canada, and tell the stories about why this is true, because there are too many stories that are that go against the grain. I built my company in Canada. I started it out of ignorance, but I made the choice to stay in Canada every single day. And trust me, there was plenty of off-ramps, right? The reason was because everyone told me to, clearly you should go to Silicon Valley. In fact, I had funding offers that told me I must be in Silicon Valley to accept them. And so it literally cost me money in those moments to stay in Canada. And I still did. Why? Because every time I did, I talked with people who I would maybe bring on, and they were fantastic. And they were just as inspiring and as caring and as hardworking and as loyal and as innovative as everyone I met in everywhere else in the world. There is no actual difference there. This is so important, and so I don't know why the story isn't out there. Yes, maybe there's lack of commercialization, but it's also culturally so put the sales office into Houston. That's just let's go. So that doesn't mean we don't sell things. And frankly, just to be a little bit, Canada has been doing this forever. This is the craziest thing. You look at it back in the story, it's we've been starting this country on trapping beavers, and then exporting the pelts to London for everyone to make all the money with it. And we just might not love it, but we are getting energy out of the ground, and then we send it to, I think that is actually literally Houston, for where all the refineries are. We don't have any. So you know where margins are on oil? We educate everyone, and like they go to U of T or Waterloo, and then export them to Silicon Valley. It's all the same story. It's literally the same story over and over and over and over again. We take the thing that is most important and send it to whoever wants it, instead of like just actually building companies. And I think that we can change this. I'll tell you, you talk to any VC, any entrepreneur of the largest companies in the Valley, they will tell you the load-bearing part of Silicon Valley deep technology work is Waterloo students. It's Waterloo graduates.
Wait. I feel like we need to get Farhan at the Air Canada gate to SFO, just holding paper offers for Shopify internships. Turn them around Monday mornings, 8 a.m. So Shopify is the only tech company in Canada's top 10. Are you tracking companies you think are going to join that list in the coming decade?
Well, I mean, Cohere, I would, you guys got this, and Web Simple is on it here. Let's go. And so, but like, honestly, I wish I could rattle off like many more. I could with maybe some prep, but like it's like, here's the thing that I actually want. Like, I want to meet companies now that are in this list soon, right? Like ideally here or at any events now, because again, people need to aim higher.
So it was talked about earlier. This situation's kind of reawakened us all. We all got out of our basement offices or condos and said, "Oh, the ecosystem exists." You've got 500 very incredible builders and builder-minded people in this room. Young, seasoned, and otherwise, and there's going to be probably many tens of thousands more that listen to this recording after. What's your ask of them?
Just like stop listening to other people so much. Like just like rederive things like from first like I mean don't listen to me either for better. Like figure your things out for yourselves and actually like realize. Like the world is loopy, everything is a circle, everything is the product of compounding changes. Like everyone needs to demand people to pay it forward. I think that is extremely important. But also we need more ambitious companies because that helps more ambitious venture capitalists to fund things. More bigger returns for venture capitalists mean that there's more money in the ecosystem again, and so on and so on and so on. These things are loopy. They all depend on each other, and like we got to break whatever cycles are preventing this from happening. And also, we need to stop kind of being like so nice. Like, you know how often I've come across these stories of like, hey, so and so was like terrible in a VC interview, or like actually no, it's like I talked to this Canadian venture capitalist who then said this ridiculous thing. Well, who? Like, what's the name? Like, let's actually like compare notes, because I can tell you WhatsApp groups with all the founders of every Y Combinator cohort are actually comparing notes on all lawyers and everyone who's working with, and that just churns out the people who are bad, which is important. Like, there's a lot of, startups are sexy. Like, I made some bad choices on some suppliers early, and I lost a whole bunch of percentage points to totally the wrong kind of people who just promised that they can go around fundraising, because that sounded like a boring thing to do to me, because I wanted to program instead. And so yeah, like that sucks. And we need to actually have a high standard for each other, lots of ambition, reach higher. There's less competition if you reach high. This is the most counterintuitive thing you will ever encounter. But you will find it if you actually try to go reach higher. It's the craziest thing. Every single time, I found that we are doing something and it's just like hard because everyone, like so much competition. I realize if you just are more ambitious, there's no one else. Like it's just like no one competes for the really ambitious targets and builds the really, really ambitious products outside of the ones we can name. And I think that's like there's so many tricks and there's so much information and so much stuff in the air, and we can help each other so much. And I think that's just what we have to get going.
So let's make Canada the most ambitious country in the world together.
Hell yeah. Let's go.
We've got a few folks that I'm going to call on to open the floor with questions while everyone gets one last chance to upvote. Then we'll take the top questions based on votes. So Arthi will be around, or Douglas with a mic. Firstly, I'd like to ask Joanna Griffiths, the founder of Nix, to share a question with us this evening. Hi, Joanna.
Long-time Shopify customer Tobi met in 2017 in TV. I was nervous to ask you a question then. Nothing has changed. One of the amazing things I think about Shopify is its success, but also the fact that you as the founder 20 years later are still in the CEO seat, and as a personal growth and development kind of nerd over here, you touched on rejection therapy, don't let other people. What other advice do you have for those who are striving for greatness to stay in their seat from a personal growth standpoint?
I actually recently shared on Twitter, it's pinned to my profile, like a talk I gave internally on sort of personal growth, which uses my language that I use for it. I just honestly, I was an engineer. I'm lucky in lots of ways. I just had the right skills and early to start a company. And then I realized that the thing I love building is actually just kind of building things. And building a company is just as interesting as building a product. It's like building a company is just as interesting as engineering. I totally agree. I can't believe I say this, but I agree with Scott Galloway on one thing I figured out today, which is that storytelling is a superpower. In fact, storytelling is like, I'm gonna get in trouble. I think software is to computer hardware what storytelling is to humans. It's the software by which everything runs. It's a way to inspire. It's a way to paint a vision for something that isn't there, which is a really, really weird thing to do. But it can cause a yearning for this thing to become true. It can tell and illuminate a problem that exists. And so I'm just I love what I do. I love my little corner of the internet where I feel like the luckiest person in the world because I build a company where every one of my customers is a unbelievably courageous, inspiring individual such as yourself. Imagine how great it is when your customers are people who you just so deeply respect. And I feel like I have a lot in common because I also am responsible for payroll and I'm also responsible for how a community of people does and fares. And I put myself out there through the products and so on. And so I just this just is to me is I could not imagine doing anything else. I started Shopify 2004, so exactly 20 years ago now. And, I feel like you have two sets of 20 years for a career. I really just hope that I'm the first person who will fire myself if I'm ever not good enough for a job. I'm desperately trying to follow my own personal growth journey to stay ahead of where Shopify needs me. Sometimes I fail in doing this and disappoint people, and sometimes I succeed, and that is the thing that keeps it amazingly interesting for me because it's like a puzzle someone dumps on my desk every day, and I wouldn't trade for a world. It's amazing. I think Karl Popper said that he wishes everyone in their career to come across finding a high-quality problem to sink their teeth into and then never to solve it. And even in the case that they might be solving it, there's he wishes that there is a plethora of interesting children problems that could be sunk their teeth into, or something to this degree. He's more eloquent than I am. But I find this to be true, and so yes, that's it about me.
Thank you, Joanna. I want to find Mike Murchison, co-founder of Ada, is somewhere in the room. Mike, all the way at the very back row to try everyone's. Mike needs a mic.
Hey, Satish, thanks for bringing us all together. Tobi, I totally agree that it's an excuse that we're here, but it's amazing to see so much value in the community. I think it's a real testament to what's important right now. Tobi, you mentioned like the importance of thinking first principles. I would love your perspective on if we think of first principles around what should be differentiated, or what should, let me put it this way, what should our ecosystem's competitive advantage be, and what would it look like for us as a community to triple down on?
I think there's, I mean, like if you give me the genie wish, I'm gonna go for deeply caring, insightful, exacting craftsmanship. Because if I get to like swing a wand and just get it, and I make it that, we'll win any day of a week. Like there's no force that can defeat that. Like it's at some point, it's like the thing I said earlier, it's like filling products up with giving a shit, with great care, great skill, exacting craft, and just because that is the thing that world class is made from. And man, world class products don't need to be sold. I mean, you should still sell them, but like they don't need to be sold, which is an amazing thing to be done. So that would be my wish, and I think this is in the core. Like it is some, like, again, Shopify exists, many fantastic companies exist. A lot of world-class products are created, often very surprising when you figure out how many world-class products are created. Often we don't put our Canadian labels on it, or we make them as contract manufacturer for Formula One teams or whatever. Like it's just amazing the kind of stuff you can find when you go digging. But that's the core, and then the ecosystem to support that, celebrate it, and then figure out all the other components.
Thanks, Mike. And I think we have what came up earlier, the raw ingredient is that young technical talent in the country and activating them. Boris Wirtz flew in from Vancouver today from Version 1 Ventures. He's somewhere in the room. Boris, Arthi on the other side over there. Gonna grab a question from the West Coast.
Hey, Boris.
Hey, Tobi. So in Canada, we have some of the best pension funds, very wealthy as well. There's quite a bit of discussion right now that we should ask them to invest more domestically. What do you think about that?
I don't know. I mean, clearly the capital would be excellent to access, but like, I'm not sure. It depends on the conditions, honestly. I think, I mean, there's a lot. I'm generally like very pro entrepreneurship at large, and not all of it needs to be pension fund, venture fund, hedge fund. Like, I mean, I would really like BDC to like just write checks with more like quicker, make this easier for people. I mean, here's the honest truth. If I would see that question in like a list, you would be amongst the first couple of people I would call for a good answer to it. So like, I don't feel I should be the person who answers it. Like, yes, more money is good. Let's put you on the spot.
I think it's intriguing to think about an investment war. I just feel like if you have two priorities, one thing is to make the best returns for engineers and safe retirement. And then it seems like you have a softer goal of making the local economy better. I think it's very tough. Any organization kind of usually fails and have two competing goals. I think they should be the best at creating returns for our retirees, but not get distracted with also kind of a separate section.
Yeah, so this is why I was hesitant to give an answer. Like, I agree that like dual purpose, like again, back to markets. I really like markets. Markets are very clarifying. Like investment, like pension funds should be very, very, very good at pension fund investing. And I think entrepreneurs should be so ambitious to provide the returns for the VCs so that the VCs can allocate a lot of money into the system, which by the way also generates the angel investing, which is very, very important, and so on and so on. Like I think this, like it's better to be not dependent on institutions that really were not created for the purposes of this sort of startup accelerator.
Thank you, Boris. And Sonia Senek, the Executive Director of the Creative Destruction Lab. Sonia.
Hello. So Creative Destruction Lab seed stage program for massively scalable companies for the entrepreneurs in the crowd. Applications are open. We started in the fall, and great to see Mike. Ada is one of our CDL grads, and Boris Wertz is one of our CDL mentors, so amazing to see the community out. Toby, recently you posted a picture of a list of rules outside a baseball match. Okay. One of the rules was like home runs are not allowed, which begs the question, of course, if we don't practice how to swing for home runs, how do we get home runs? But my question for you is, when it comes to commercializing research in Canada, what's one thing that you would change to drive us to be, with the ambition of being global leaders?
This is why, I like markets, like selling the innovations. Let's make the products, and make the highest status thing for the innovators to be part of then the commercialization, like of this. And let's figure out how to matchmake people who can take a brilliant insight and turn it into like a product. And it's just like. Innovation does not happen that often. Like it does happen sometimes in lab with people wearing lab coats and saying eureka at various moments, I suppose. But like honestly, like the innovation that is truly affects people's lives is that's funny, that's interesting. How do I just let me try 10,000 things here of like figuring out how to turn this into a product. You see, I make a study of like the sort of highest momentum competitive spaces, like crypto a while ago, right now clearly LLM powered, like AI. Before that, it was like the Chinese consumer internet, and video games have always been great, where a lot of passionate, high quality craftsmanship happens and goes into it and tries to figure out how to create the products. I can tell you, this is more fun to observe, even through indirect means, than anything that HBO has ever aired. It's just like I wish people would appreciate how exciting it is to even be a fly on the wall, which everyone can be through the wonders of podcasts and internet forums and whatnot, to seeing what the people discuss who are like currently kind of making a corner of the world for all of our benefit. And so I have never encountered that type of excitement anywhere in the adjacency of academia in Canada. And I thought maybe this is changing. I know there's efforts to change it, but I don't think we are at velocity yet. Creative Destruction Labs, by the way, thank you. So probably the best directional gist here. So the commercialization is an important thing, and I'd love for us to celebrate it, but we also need to see it as a high status thing for the academics to actually be involved in this, and for the people who come in and help with the commercialization to take a very public W when it happens, so that this is not all just handed to somewhere else.
Thank you, Sonia. Going to take a few of the top questions here. How can folks like Shopify and BetaKit leverage their platforms to advocate for young entrepreneurs in Canada and promote retention in the country?
Any ideas, please let us know, Tobi at shopify.com. But so for instance, this morning, today, we was it today? Yesterday? We had an intern group start at the office yesterday, right? Exactly. So great advice. We are doing this again, bringing people in, even though we are a digital company. We do internship programs in person, just because nice. we need to do that thing again. Shopify has there's hundreds of thousands of business in Canada on Shopify. Many of them started on Shopify. Many of them started due to Shopify, I'd like to think, or at least the more successful than the others would have been. So we are trying to push from there. I'm happy, ready to do whatever else. Again, we are trying to seed an ecosystem here, and we want to see more success.
And we're doing what we're doing with Shopify, with BetaKit, because
yes,
habits die hard. We're doing what we're doing with BetaKit because stories, as we started off tonight, are the most powerful tool that we have. Like if BetaKit didn't exist, the access to quality, accessible, and coast-to-coast journalism about the tech in Canada would not exist free for Canadians. And so this is imperative because that's the platform for conversation. That's my answer.
We need optimistic coverage of optimistic and economically savvy coverage of tech. It is like to everyone's detriment to get this nonsensical narrative arc, but is just popular with a lot of mainstream media right now. I just really don't think anyone benefits from this. So I think we need new media to carry the torch because a bunch of folks are abdicating their core responsibility to inform.
A few more with double-digit votes here. How can we have an entrepreneurial economy like the US without the downsides of being the US?
I think those things are two sides of the same coin. I don't think you want exactly that, and I think Canada just should not choose that. I think you can hit a much more enlightened set of trade-offs, which will mute somewhat potentially the absolute upside, and I think no one would have a problem with that because you can bring the floor up significantly, which I think is this is exactly how Canada should innovate with its civic governance system that just is find a better set of trade-offs, like a system that doesn't that leads to prosperity and opportunity both, and without forgetting about everyone in the country, because countries are communal projects. Look, everyone makes a lot of things about we're talking a lot about the government, and this sounds quite adversarial here at times, and I just want to there's the government as one player, and then there's companies at the other thing, and then there's public, there's free groups. There's so much made out of the companies are exploiting the people, and then the government is curtailing them, and then no, we're all on the same project. This is common project. We all agree on 99%. Actually, on basically everyone in Canada agrees that Canada is a great place. Let's go and let's go build stuff. And frankly, the public is in charge. They got to vote on the government, and every time vote on the products purchased. It's everyone's accountable to the public here, and I think that's really important. So there is so much purchase here for a project that attempts to find the best set of trade-offs. Now we are dealing in a humans aren't perfectible in I think hopefully everyone realizes this. We can't become the absolutely perfect person that does everything right in all circumstances, all of us at all times. Therefore, we invent systems, civic systems, where checks and balances, and there's trade-offs, and I don't know, all these kind of things that we appreciate in our liberal democracies. And we have innovated on those systems significantly in times prior, and probably haven't updated all parts of it. And I think this is a wonderful thing to do for a sovereign country that's wealthy, with incredible natural resources, with incredible brains, innovative minds, and all the other advantages Canada have, plus independent governance and own currency. It's incredible what Canada can accomplish when it puts its mind to it.
I think that's a perfect place to end off. My bad, we couldn't get through all the questions, but we'll try and do that afterwards. Thank you, Tobi, for joining us here tonight.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.